Hello, math champions. In this video, we're going to learn about multiplication and division of decimals. If you have not watched or understood what is decimals and what is addition, subtraction, I would recommend you to check out my video on decimals part 1. Okay. Once you understand that, then only you'll be able to understand multiplication and division of decimals. Okay. Going forward, let's understand how we can do multiplication and division of decimals. And if you remember, we were talking about decimals are nothing but fractions, right? Decimals are nothing but fractions. The special types of fractions. That means what? Fractions means we know it's like this is a fraction, this is a fraction, all these are fraction. But among all of these fractions itself, if you have a fraction which has a denominator as 10 or 100 or 1,000 or a 10,000, such kind of such kind of fractions can be called, can be converted as decimals directly. Okay. Yeah. So with this prior knowledge, we will go ahead and do. Okay. Now, let's take multiplication of two decimals. Okay. So it says, let's say 42.3 multiplied by, okay, let me take little smaller numbers. What do you say? Okay, let's take 4.2 multiplied by 6, no, 3.1. Let's say like this. Okay. How do we do this multiplication? Okay, two decimal numbers are there. How do we do this multiplication? It is very simple. Change this, convert this decimal to a fraction. So it becomes 42 over a 10. This conversion you should be knowing if you have watched that video called Decimals Part 1. Right? If we have to convert this into a fraction, it will be 31 over a 10. Correct? Now next it is simple. You just have to do the multiplication of fractions. If you do not know multiplication of fractions, highly recommend you to go back to the video of multiplication of fractions and then understand it better. Okay. So once we have done this, what do we know now? It is nothing but I just have to multiply this 42 multiplied by 10, multiplied by 31 and 10 multiplied by 10. So let's say 32 times 2 is 62. So I carry a 6 here. 32 times 31 times 4 is a 144. 144 plus 6 is 150. Yes. So this is my numerator. Denominator is 100. And because of now I have converted that into a decimal now because there are two zeros here. We know it gets changed to a 15.02. So that will be my answer. Very simple, isn't it? Very simple it is. Now, should we be doing it every time? That I will tell you when we go forward. Okay. However, let me give you one more understanding of multiplication of decimals. Okay. Let's say if it is a 1.2 times 4. What is the meaning of this 1.2 times 4? If we had seen it previously, this is also same as 4 times 1.2. And what is the meaning of 4 times 1.2? If we represent this decimals as flats and rods and things like that, right? Like we used to do in the previous video, in the decimals part 1 video, 1.2 can be represented as one flat and two rods, correct? So if it is 4 times that one, what is the meaning? Similar way, I'll have to do 4 times the same situation. This is the same thing. Why am I explaining this one? I just don't want you to learn just one method about converting that into a fraction and then doing that's not the only way that you can do a certain decimal multiplication problem. You have to understand the concept behind it, why it is like that, isn't it? So that is the reason I am giving you one more way of understanding it. So what has happened here? 4 times I have done the same 1.2, 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. Now, if I have to join all of them together, what will happen? I'll get totally 4 flats, correct? 4 flats and 8 rods. So now if I have to convert this 4 flats into 8 rods, it will be 4.8. So that is what I have got 4.8 here. So I hope you have understood it visually also. This is how it happens. Okay, now let's see whether that is a actual way we will get even with a fraction. If I convert this, 4 is same as 4. There's no fraction there. 1.2 means it is 12 over a 10, correct? And 4 means we know that the denominator is 1. So now convert it to a fraction multiplication. 4 times 12 and 1 times 10. So we get a 48 over a 10, which is nothing but 4.8. So do you see? It is exactly correct. Exactly correct. And visually also we have understood this. Right? So I want you to visualize mathematics as well as this is one of the techniques, one of the methods to do it. Okay. Now, let's understand division of fractions, right? Division of fractions. Later on, we'll also come for a easier technique, easier way of doing this, much easier than this also we'll find out. Okay. Now let's do division of fractions. Same way, division of fractions. Let's say I'm going to take 4.8 divided by a 4. Let's take a simple like this. And what am I going to do? Let's do first the visual way. Okay. What is a visual way? 4.8 means what? 4.8 means it is 4 flats, correct? 4 flats and 8 rods. 4 flats and 8 rods, right? So, there's a reason why I'm drawing two rods below. I will tell you what is that. Okay, why means it'll be easier for me to further draw and things like that. So for totally 4 rods and four flats and 8 rods. This is 4.8, isn't it? Now I have to make this into 4 groups, isn't it? I have to make this into 4 groups. That is the reason I did that separately. Like I drew it separately. What happened now? This is the 4 equal groups. So this is the way usual division happens, right? So equal groups, I made it. Now my answer is whatever is there in one group, correct? Whatever is there in one group. That is my answer, right? Whatever is there in one group. What is that? One group has 1 flat and 2 rods. 1 flat and 2 rods. 0.2 this is. So the answer is 1.2, correct? So now we have got the answer. Visually we got it. Can we do it in the converting that into a fraction kind of a thing? Let's do and see. Okay. This is what happens. 48 over a 10 divided by 4. Now, fraction division. If you do not know fraction division, I would highly recommend you to stop the video here, go back and learn fraction division videos, which is also there in my channel. Okay. Okay. What happens in a fraction division? The dividend stays as it is. The division sign changes to a multiplication sign when the divisor becomes its reciprocal. So division changed to multiplication and the divisor, because it was a 4 over a 1, now it became 1 over a 4. Now, when we are going to do simplification, we can use simplification like using the table of 4, because 48 and 4 both go in 4. 4 times 1 and 4 times 12. So can I do any further simplification? Yes, I can do. However, I will retain it as it is. 12 over a 10. Why I'm retaining it as a 10 itself? So that it will be easier for me to write as a decimal. So 12 over 10 is 1.2. See, we got the same answer as 1.2. So what do we know? We can, whenever it's a decimal multiplication or division, you just have to convert that into a fraction and use the fraction way also. Okay. So this is a simple, effective way to, understand. Okay. Whenever you have any confusion, just change it to a fraction and go ahead and do it and change that back the answer to a decimal. So I would highly recommend you to remember one thing, that don't simplify this 10 or 100 that is there, because if it is there in the end, if it stays as it is in the end, it is easier for you to convert that into a decimal. Okay. Now, can we find out a trick much simpler than this also? Can we find out? So for that, we are going to do something activity, right? What is that? Is I want you to pause the video. I want you to pause the video and in the way that I have showed you in the fractions method, I want you to find out the answers for all of this. Okay, 23.67 multiplied by 1,000. What happens? How do you do it? You're going to change that, into a fraction, isn't it? Like 23.67 means 2367 over 100 multiplied by 1,000. Correct? This is how you will do it. And we know that because it's 100 times 100 times 10, right? We can do that. And so the answer become 23670. Okay, like this. Now, if it's a 23.67 multiplied by let's say 0.01, okay? 0.01 means this question I'm talking about. If it's a 0.01, this question, what happens? It will be 1 over 100, isn't it? 1 over 100. So it's because it's a multiplication. What happens? The numerator multiplies as it is, 2367 by 1 lakh, right? Or no, 10,000, sorry, 10,000. You get a 10,000. So what happens? You get the answer as 0.2367. See, I use a fraction to get the answer, right? So in this way, I've given you a sample for 2 problems. In this way, I want you to go ahead and write the answers for all of this. Why? I want you to find out a technique or a trick that is going to help you future. Little hard work in the beginning when you learn, if you put in, you can understand how the trick also came so that it will be easier. Usually what happens, teachers tell their tricks and children just take it and then they forget the trick or they remember half of the trick and because of which they go wrong. So I don't want you to experience that one. So I want you to find out your trick on your own instead of me telling it to you directly. So for that, I want you to pause this video here, pause it now, and find out the answers for all of this. Yes, math champions. Now you would have got answers for all of this, right? Just I wanted to check the answers that I have written and you have written, whether they are correct or not. Okay, for a second, just verify them. It must be these answers. Okay. Okay, we have done it. Let's see what is a pattern that we can come up with, right? Now, what is happening as as you see here, the number of zeros, right? Number of decimal places. It's getting multiplied by further less value. It is getting multiplied by a lesser value, and the answer is also reducing lesser it is becoming, correct? That's the pattern, one pattern we can say. Another pattern in the division side, yeah, dividing by a lesser number. Dividing by a, as the division number becomes lesser, the divisor becomes lesser. If you see the, this answer is becoming higher, right? Okay, I have written the arrows incorrectly, maybe. Okay, so let me write it properly. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, show you here is when I do a multiplication with a higher number, right? What is happening? The answer is also higher, right? It's increasing this side. So the answer is also increasing this side. The numbers, divisors are increasing this side, but the answer is decreasing, correct? So, of course, this is the basic comparison between a multiplication and division. And there is also something you have to notice here. Whatever be the answer, all the answers are having this 2, 3, 6, 7 digits. All of them having 2, 3, 6, 7 only. Let it be 100, 1,000, or 0 0.1, 0 0.00, whatever. That 2, 3, 6, 7 is always there. Just that, where is the decimal point? That's all is the difference, right? So here is a decimal point for this number. Here is a decimal point for this number. What is happening here? I'm going to show you a pattern here. So because it is a 3 zeros here, that means 3 decimal places, the number has to increase. Number has to increase means the decimal point has to go to the right side. So Okay, multiplication means numbers value, the product should increase. Increase means the decimal point has to go to the right side. That means three places means one place, two place, another place it's not there, no. But what do we know? What do we see? If it is 23.67, there's actually multiple zeros beyond this. That's the meaning, right? So now if I'm multiplying with 1,000, what I'm going to do, three decimal places, I have to move the decimal point. So 1, 2, and 3. So here comes our decimal point, and that is the reason our answer is 23670.000. Or we can just leave it as 23767.670, right? If you see the pattern again here, what is happening? It's two zeros, means the answer should increase. So the decimal point will move to the right side two places, isn't it? And that is why I've got 2367, the decimal point coming here. If it's a 10, my decimal point is moving only one place and the decimal point is coming here. If you see here, 236.7, right? If it's 1, I don't have any zero, so this it's not moving. Now what happens if that is 2367 multiplied by 0.1? Now we know that 1,000 means it's a whole number. So whenever we multiply anything with a whole number, the answer should increase. But then here is a catch. What is the meaning? The 0.1 is not a whole number. It is lesser than 1. It is lesser than 1. So the number of decimal places, when you have both these number having, decimal points, the number has to actually reduce because it's a fraction. Fraction means it's lesser than 1. That means you're multiplying something with a lesser than 1. Surely the value will decrease. The value will decrease, right? So what is happening? Instead of a decimal point moving to the right side, now it is moving to the left side as many decimal places as it is there on after this point here, right? So it is moving totally to the left side. Or there could be one other way that you can think about also. What is that? Here in this number, there are two decimal places. In this number, there is one decimal place. So the product has totally 2 plus 1, that many decimal places. That is also way you can understand, okay? That is also the way you can think, okay? See, here two decimal places in this number, two decimal places in this number. So 2 plus 2 decimal places will give you 4 decimal places. So 2, 3, 6, 7. All these will come after the decimal point. This way also you can think about it, okay? This way also you can think about it. So this trick is only when both the numbers are having decimal numbers. So this, what did we understand? If one decimal number and other one is a whole number, so as many, decimal places, that many. What happens? Let's understand about a different kind of a question. Let's say 23.67 multiplied by 2,000. Okay. What this essentially means is nothing but 23.67 multiplied by 1,000, the same question that we had, then multiplied by 2. That's the meaning, isn't it? So we can just do the way that we were doing here and then later on multiply by 2. Or you can also think like, just take the 23.67 multiplied by 2, you do it. Okay, you'll get an answer. And with that answer, now with whatever that number is, multiply by 1,000, right? Multiplying by 1,000 means what? Multiplying by 1,000 means what? It is going to have, see, now for example, if this is there, I can do this like 23.67 multiply by 1,000 first. If I'm doing, I will get this much, then multiply by 2. Isn't it? That's the way I can do. So let it be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. We can just do the 1,000 part where the decimal point we can figure out and then we can do. There's one more other trick that we can do. That means what? Whatever be the numbers, let's say it's 23.67 multiplied by a 0.2. Now what is the meaning of this? It is nothing but 0.1 multiplied by 2. So what we are doing is we just take the 23.67 multiplied by 2. We will do Okay. And okay, this much is the multiplication. So I will have this. However, the decimal places is the total decimal places as we were seeing here, right? 2 decimal places and 1 decimal place. So 3 decimal places. So totally I should have 3 decimal places in the product. So if I keep the decimal point here, only then the 3 decimal places will come. So the answer will come like this, right? So this is the trick for multiplication. Now, how do we do for division? Now, how do we do for division? Let's understand that part now. For division, whenever there is a higher number in the divisor, the answer will become lesser and lesser, isn't it? It will become lesser. So, if the 3 decimal places, that means if a number, the answer is expected to be lesser, then we will go back side. The decimal point when it goes left side, see, as of now it is 23. If my decimal points moves here, it becomes 2.3. 2 is lesser than 23, isn't it? Like that. That's the understanding. So 1 decimal place, 2 decimal place, third decimal place, where do we do? We don't have anything, no? But we know that before a 23, there is a 0, right? So we'll take one more place here. So the answer will come out to be 0.023. See, 0.02367. That's what is there here, right? That's what we got. Similarly, for 100, division by 100, we know the answer will reduce. If the answer is reduced, that means the decimal point should move to the left by 2 places. So it moves to the left and the point comes here. So 0.2367, that's what we have got here, right? So this is how it goes. This is how it goes. Going for this, okay? Now let's, this is all for numbers, one decimal number divided by a whole number. This is how the pattern goes. What happens for a decimal number divided by a decimal number? Let's talk about this. If you see the pattern, there are 2 decimal places in this question, right? In this dividend, and the divisor has a 1 decimal place. So finally, if you see, this is 2 decimal place minus 1 decimal place. The final number of decimal places is 1 decimal place. Let's see here. The 2 decimal places here, 2 decimal places here, 2 decimal place minus 2 decimal place is 0 decimal place. That means after the decimal point, there's nothing. So let's see here. 2 decimal places here, 3 decimal places here. That means what? 2 minus 3, it is minus 1. No, minus 1. Minus 1 means what? That beyond this decimal place, it's minus 1 means here it was a 0, right? Minus 1 means one more place. So extra 1 0 has come. Extra 1 0 has come. So if this is a little confusing, don't worry. Don't go by the tricks. Just convert that any decimal into a fraction and you can go ahead and do it. If you still want to understand the trick, you can pause the video and watch the video little again and again to understand the trick. But trick is not necessary. If you've understood the concept of decimal multiplication using fractions, that is also sufficient. How did we do that? We did it using this way, right? We did it here, right? We did it here where we showed like how, we converted that into a fraction and then we went ahead and did it. We can do it that way also. I hope you have understood the concept of decimal multiplication division very well. I'll see you in the next video with yet another concept of how, why, and the tricks. Okay, math champions don't go only for the tricks. Short term, they don't think, they think about long term. They learn multiple approaches to do a problem so that they don't have to get confused or worried in whenever they're doing mathematics. Multiple different approaches means if one approach doesn't work or one approach you don't remember well, you can use another approach, isn't it? So math has multiple approaches of doing the same problem. I'll see you in the next video. See you. Bye-bye.